This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
That is very true, Will Vincent. We do have, a sportsman category as well, which is one of the, I think, the level right beneath pro. And you got Adam Fecciponti leading that sportsman category. He's got 2 top 5s this season, 3,536 points. His closest title contender, Colin Marzolf, who is running a good 627 points behind him for that first place in your sportsman category as well. So more than one class of driver today. We got a few championships that are looking to wrap up in the final round of the Majors Series. How very true. I think, you know, one of the biggest passings we're going to be seeing is the run of the Junxiao corner all the way down to turn number 1, just past the start-finish line. It is, I guess you could call it the longest straight on the track. It's got a few left-hand kinks thrown into the mix there to kind of shake things up a little bit. Makes this track very unique over, you know, the steep elevation change up and then back down for turn number 1. And then you have Rita Oposta, that straight, which is running down through towards turn number 4. And that is, of course, very flat, coming off of a steep downhill transition, though. And they are moving towards more of an uphill transition as well at the end of that straight as well. So it is a very difficult track, even when you're trying to overtake down those very long straights. Yeah, I remember watching, you know, the Interlagos Grand Prix from, you know, the World Championship Grand Prix Series. It was our season opener, I believe, last year in 2018 for their final season of that series before it shut down. So, you know, it has been a while, though, since we've seen the Williams F1 car, you know, flying around this circuit. But that doesn't make it any less exciting, does it?
Nolan, final thoughts.
Well, all I could say is I'm really hoping that, you know, a lot of these guys make it through turn 1 clean. As the lights go out, they're already 3 abreast trying to go into turn number 1. This is going to be tight as they are all over the place, and behind them a little bit of contact, I think, for the front to the rear wing as well on the start of this Grand Prix.
Yes,
and one car round.
We are, and we do apologise for some of the sound issues at the start of this one. As we are green, we are underway here in Brazil as they work themselves down through the first of 71 laps here. They work themselves through turn number 4 for the first time, now up towards Ferradura for the first time in this race, and it is Marco Sanfilippo leading the way, and he's got himself the advantage of 6/10 of a second over Thomas O'Leary right now as they head themselves down into the infield section for the first time. As we just have a look back, we go on board with your championship leader heading into this event. That is the driver of Christian Challoner right now as he comes through, and it's what we talked about, the lap times being so quick around here. They're already through Jungsau, they're already heading themselves now down to finish off the lap here, but it is going to be Marco Sanfilippo who is leading the way, and he's got himself the advantage of 9/10 of a second at the conclusion of lap number 1 over Thomas O'Leary as they now come down in through the center rest for the second time this event. The left-hander down at Curve de Sol. And well, Sanfilippo looking as though he's got himself a good early advantage. We've had a couple of drivers coming towards pit road early. Syandra is one of those, and that's going to be some damage repairs to him as he comes back out and away.
Yeah, there were a few incidents on the first lap, and of course that's not uncommon in Formula racing to have those incidents on lap number 1. Didn't seem like anybody really got into anything too bad, so quick tire change, maybe a front wing change, and he's going to be right back up there and going. And already they're thundering down through this little infield section of Interlagos, and it is just such a tight place to try to pass. It's so incredibly tight all the way through there. It's definitely exciting though to watch overtakes trying to happen. We have another car off. In the middle of that, it's Joshua Wolf from P number 7 that's just gone off.
Yes, let's get ourselves a replay of that one if we can in just 1 second's time. Joshua Wolf then in the number 48 car. Let's have a look back at the number 48 and let's go and have a look, see what happened to him. Joshua Wolf's in a Torque Freak racing car. We see him so often, of course, in terms of our endurance racing as well here on RaceSpot TV. And just a solo car spin, so easy to happen at that part of the racetrack down at turn number 8. And you see us try and merge back into traffic, and I've had that situation once or twice in my life when I've had to merge back onto a highway from slow speeds. It's always terrifying, so much more so in a Grand Prix cars. We've got lots of action going on here as we've got at the front of your field battles going on for 2nd and 3rd place on track. Behind, we did just have a quick glimpse of this. Go on board with David Baker in the Grizzly Motorsports car. He was battling it out with Gabriel Roos. That is a 14th place on track, but I know Alejandro, we're going to turn our attention over to him. He's towards the front of your field right now in that number 456 car, and he's got himself, well, it's 7/10 of a second deficit to Thomas O'Leary. But what you got to remember about this type of race here, Nolan, is the fact that the dirty air kicks in from about 6/10 of a second back. So, and Eric Andre really wants to hope that he can get this, no, DRS, it's the wrong type of car we're thinking about here, but he wants to make sure he can get the slipstream working on that car. You can see he's all forms of squirting into the center S, but Eric Andre needs to find a way of spinning a little bit closer from the exit of Jungsau.
It's going to be much closer as a huge run down to turn number 4. He's going to make the lookout. Will he make it stick? Yes, he will. Clears him by the time to get to the turning point. And then Eric Andre will go up into 2nd place of this Grand Prix. Thomas O'Leary goes back for 3rd. He's probably going to be trying to fight back, though, when they get back onto the front straightaway. You still have Marco Sanfilippo still pulling away with the lead.
It almost looks as though, from the replay, and I don't want to have another look there, on board with Thomas O'Leary right now. It always looked as though that O'Leary just let him pass as they came down towards turn number 4. And you just see he does slow down a little bit. I think he realized that Andre was so close behind him. And what you don't want to have is we've got a spin, and that is a treble 6 machine having himself a moment. That is Aldis Putglis, and we talked about him at the top of this broadcast, Nolan, as being a driver who's a part of this mighty close battle, and that's a 2nd spin by the treble 6 in the space of 30 seconds or so. And wow, he's now all the way down into 18th place on track. And after being involved in a very tight battle coming into this event, this is just disaster for Aldis.
It's all gone wrong for Putglis. You see on the replay, just spinning around all on his own the first time, getting on the power. Very, very easy to do in these Formula 1 cars. And then he's trying to get on it, and keep whatever positions he can, and then he just gets caught up in the wrong place and just gets completely turned around. Coming onto the front straightaway, that caused a lot of, it no doubt caused a lot of side pod damage. He's down into the pits, and that is going to cause him to lose out just about on all of his track positions. So very unfortunate start to Uldis Particular's day.
Yeah, and he did actually have a little bit of help the second time around. You just focus in on your championship leader, Christian Challenger, right now in the number 73 Kinetic Europe car. And one of the things we did mention is the fact that Uldis was tied for point with Mattias Magnussen coming into this event with 3,595 points. That is all going to be a change for the course of this one. But out from Marco Sanfilippo then, he is leading the way. Marco Sanfilippo in the number 17 car. 1.8 second advantage right now. We're going to come back to this one in a moment because there's a little bit of side-by-side racing going on in towards turn number 1, and that's a car that's going to be pushed off. That actually is Adam Ponti. He was the driver here, Nolan, who was involved in the second part of the crash at Uldis a lap ago, and now Ponti is all the way down in P number 19 after an incident down at the Center S.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to pinch Kurt Crum down at the apex coming into curve 1. And again, it was a car-to-car contest, so that's 2 incidents that Fetchy Ponti, your sportsman title leader, has been caught up in with 2 different cars involved. So again, 2 drivers having very unfortunate starts today. The good news for both of them is it is a very long Grand Prix. We still got over 60 laps to go yet. So he's got a lot of time to try to make up ground.
And more importantly, Fetchy Ponti's got an insurmountable lead at the front of that sportsman field. So this really is him just racing for pride, racing for points, racing for the experience here in this Williams FW31. Battle going on in your mid-pack, by the way. We go on board with Gabriel Roos in the number 14 car, Liam Quinn just ahead of them. We're going to have a little bit of free-wide racing here. Coming down towards turn number 1, the Center S. We almost did. Gabriel Roos is going to try and make the move. Diego Jimenez Homela in the number 941 car isn't able to do so. He stays behind in 12th place, even though he's past Liam Quinn. Now looking down to the outside as they come in towards turn number 4, and he's going to try and hold the outside line. You can do so easily around this Interlagos racetrack because it gives you then the inside line for the next corner, which is Ferradura. And around the outside, Gabriel Roos putting on a clinic of outside driving there, but they still stay side by side, and a spin, and Gabriel Roos makes contact and is out there with Liam Quinn also being taken up in the melee.
Oh, that was some really good racing we had there for a minute, and replay now going to be up on your screen. Gabriel Roos tries to dive in, might have bumped him wide entering the corner, and then tried to come back and cut across him on the apex. Didn't work out for him. And you have one other driver that was just caught up, innocent bystander on that deal, but that was some super close racing. I'm surprised they didn't wreck earlier, to be honest with you.
You know what, Nolan, the amount of times that I've seen this happen, that it's been great racing for about 3/4 of a lap here at Interlagos, and then at the very last minute something happened. Well, we just had exactly that here today. Thomas O'Leary, 601 car, running right now about 2 tenths per second back from Christian Challenger in the number 73 cars. They work themselves again down into this infield section through Esso corner now to Pinheiro, the left sweeping left-hander, the right little kink before you come into Pico de Pato. And then from here, it's a case of how bold are you as you come through Mugello? Are you going to try and take it flat out? I remember back in 2003, it was the first time that they had the opportunity to take the corner flat out. And in qualifying, it was a case of who was the boldest. Juan Pablo Montoya, back in that race in 2003, was a driver who took it bolder than anyone. Of course, he drove for Williams at the time. Very different car though, so this Williams FW31. We're going to go back though to your race leader and Marco Sanfilippo and Eric Andre. The gap's come down a little bit now. 1.7 seconds on track, and the lap gaps, what we saw there on lap number 8, Nolan, is someone about 3 tenths per second on Eric Andre is able to gain over Marco.
Seems to be swapping back and forth a bit because you also see on lap 70 lost actually about the same amount of time to Sanfilippo, but overall, and Eric Andre is closing in, and I think part of that is due, in fact, to the part that he did break off from the battle for third place behind. So he's been able to just put the pedal down, get his head down, and continue to try to push in. And we could have ourselves a battle for this race lead forming up here in about 5-6 laps or so if he continues to close in at that rate. Yeah,
let's actually go on board, shall we, for a moment with Marco. Just have a look at him, the number 17 car. Actually, what we probably want to do is to turn our attention over to Eric Andre in the number 456 car. Gap is down now to 1.6 seconds. And last time, well, almost a tenth to a second gained on Eric Andre over Marco San Filippo. And on Eric Andre, of course, he's had pedigree with teams running in these Formula cars. I know Eric Andre has seen him racing in Formula style cars before. Of course, this Williams FW31 it's not been used that much in the last couple of years, ever since there was the release of the McLaren, which kind of took over this Williams in terms of top level open wheel car. So in some ways this car track combination is a little bit of a game of leveler, because it's not one that these teams and drivers will use that often, which is one of the things about the major series. It's not your standard car and track combinations that everyone's really used to.
I think that's what makes the Major Series just such a thrill to watch, is these more unusual car-track combinations. You know, we're just seeing so much little position swapping going on everywhere. The first 10 laps of this race have been nothing but thrills throughout the entirety of it. It is those little unique kind of races that they do put on that make this such a fun series to watch. It's such a fun series to tune into. It's amazing as we look back to your battle for third place. O'Leary pulling a little bit of a gap over Challenger. We have a car that's off.
Yeah, that is Bram Renas in the Torque Freak Racing number 8 car. As we'll get ourselves a replay, let's try and figure out what happened to him. This is down at Yun Sao and just caught the corner very heavily on the outside, loops it around, but that's going to cost him quite a bit of time as a consequence, as he is now down into 14th place on track. So Brian Renas then in the number 8 Torque Freak Racing car, losing quite a bit of time in Yun Sao already. It's been a corner that has proven to be difficult here today for drivers. We're just checking on the battle, by the way, with Joseph Ringrose and Riley Thompson. Ringrose in the number 830 car, and then you've got Riley Thompson in the Total Downforce Racing Europe car, as they work themselves now up towards this danger point from Mugello in towards Yun Sao once again. The number 830 car, Yusuf Ringrose, running in 5th place. But what a run does Riley Thompson get on the exit of Yun Sao. Looks so small issue there for Ringrose, as they're then going to go side by side as they work themselves towards the start-finish line. And Riley Thompson having to take the outside line into the center S. Can't make the move stick, but quite often, if you don't get it the first time around, you can do it the second time of asking. But Thompson nowhere near close enough just yet, as they work themselves down to the Sega de Lego turn number 4 and track. And well, actually, no, then after all that, we got excited for nothing.
Ah, that's such a shame. But, you know, it is a battle of the late breakers when you're going into turn 1 side by side like that. And it looks like, you know, Joseph Ringrose did manage to win out in battle number 1, really win out in round number 2, which is no doubt going to be coming up here very, very shortly. Still have plenty of time, so you never know. Maybe Thompson might be a little patient here. Try to, you know, play his cards right. Wait for Ringrose to make a mistake. It's not the most uncommon thing. We've seen it time and time again. We're gonna look at a little replay here, and it looks like, you know, Ringrose is beginning to pull a little gap.
Yeah, Riley Thompson got some snap overs there on the exit of what was that, turn number 7. Pinheiro on track, so that's why he's now back over a second behind Joseph Ringrose. They head themselves down towards the start-finish line again. By the way, of all 26 drivers that started this race, they are all still running. However, a total of 6 drivers have made some form of pit stop. Syandra, well, we're just turning to him at the perfect opportune moment, because he just made himself another position. He pitted earlier on 17.9 second pit stop. Sorry, 17.9 seconds on the lane to get some damage repairs. Syandra is now back up into 11th place with a 2.3 second pit stop. He's only 27 seconds back from your race leader. That shows the pace he's got. And actually, last time around, Syandra 113.526. That was only a tenth of a second slower than your race leader, and he's negotiating traffic. Danilo San Filippo in the number 27 car also made a pit stop. He's down in 20th place. Daniel Johnson, Colin Marzov, Maciek Kuziak and Julius Putlas, who we talked about earlier on, have all pitted, and we've got another car on track here, Nolan, and this one's got no front nose as a consequence. That is Andreas Robertson in the Total Downforce Racing Europe car. And let's see if we can get a replay of this one, but it looks as though I think it's going to be a solo car spin down at turn number 7, and this time around he just nudges it into the tyre barrier.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, just lost it on his own and went big into that tire barrier, lost the front wing. That's going to be devastating to his race, and I don't think we've really discussed a whole lot, but it is unbelievably difficult to, you know, get these cars not to oversteer on the exit. You really have to be really careful on the throttle to really try to balance it out. And it's already caught quite a few drivers out today in this race. Just about all of our spins have been caused by snap oversteer on the exit. It's down to the pit road now, gets a new front wing on, and it looks like he might be doing a tire change as well.
It would make sense. He's 14 laps into the 71 event here, as Liam Quinn has just had himself a moment. Not sure whether he actually hit anything, but here's a replay of him, and this will be down into turn number 4 in the Kinetic Americas Junior car, spinning around. He's so lucky that they've basically tarmacked off that area of the track now, because if that was back in the day, he would have been beat and out of the event. Good afternoon, Cam Walsh.
Good afternoon. It's not good morning, because we changed all of the clocks here. We all got together and went, you know what? Time makes too much sense, and so we changed it all, and that has been great.
Well, you changed yours this week. We changed ours a week ago, and of course, because, you know, we own UTC, that means that we're always right. As there's Gabriel Roos, by the way, as he's gone off into the barriers, and Kinetic Europe then, number 14 car. One of the things that's worth noting here, maybe, Nolan, is the fact that these guys, again, they're not used to some of the intricacies about these Williams FW31, and I remember back the time that I tried to used to race this car, you'd always want to try and keep it out of first gear wherever possible, because the snap oversteer on these things is absolutely incredible.
It is, and there has been, I am sorry to kind of break away from this for a bit, but we did have an incident for your battle for 9th place. Travis Henderson has gone for a spin. There was a big contact for Joshua Wolf, who pounded him coming into, I think it was turn 6. You see the replay up on your screen, and that sent Henderson around overall. They went 3 wide for a moment, and we're going to see comes on through and just loses the back end. Yeah,
there's Henderson. In the number 24 Grizzly Motorsports car. Let's get another look, shall we, if we can, and go on board of him for a moment. This is Travis Henderson, as we say, in that number 24 Grizzly Motorsports car. You see immediately just trying to struggle to get it down, and then a little bit of contact going to send the back end of that car around, and the Grizzly Motorsports car, as a consequence, is now down in 12th place on track. We talk about battles, there's plenty going on. We go on board with Riley Thompson in the number 58 car as they exit Mugello even, and head themselves down to Yunsao once again. Up the hill they'll come once again, and Riley Thompson, well, he's currently 3 tenths of a second back from Joseph Ringrose as they work down towards the start-finish line on track. And Thompson does get a good run. These two almost went side by side at this corner before in this race, but Thompson not able to do anything as they work themselves through the center rest, now down through the curve of the Sol, and well, exit the curve of the Sol, and well, count, to be honest. Riley Thompson just doesn't seem to have the pace in a straight line here, because he's been stuck behind Ringrose now for a number of laps.
Yes, and they're going to be going by the stricken car of Kusiak, the number 20 car that had done pretty much what everyone's done in the back half of the field, which is losing the car under acceleration. But yeah, it's a difficult car to set up. But not only that, a lot of the intricacies have been kind of lost to time, as it were, as time has gone on and as the setup masters have moved on. It's gotten to that point where when people are trying to throw setups at a car, you come up with something, and even under acceleration, Ringrose is just able to really pull away from Thompson. And I think maybe it's just a familiarity with the car sort of thing, but also it just turns out this car is, well, a Formula One car. It's extremely complex, and there's a lot of things that you can miss out on. As Thompson tries to work on the outside for turn 1, doesn't work though. Ringrose is still leading him.
Yeah, Adam Franchiponte has an issue that is down again at the Desaga de Logo. So that's now down into 18th place from Adam Franchiponte. Let's go and talk about your race lead battle, shall we, for a moment, Nolan, because Marco Sanfilippo is 1.3 seconds ahead of Eric Andre, but there's lap traffic coming into play very early here. Lap number 18 or 71 in this final round of the Major Series of 2019, and Marco Sanfilippo he's going to have to deal with this traffic before turn number 1. There's another car just ahead. You can see the lap traffic will get out of the way before they hit that first corner. But what it is going to do is means Eric Andre is not going to get past, and he's going to be held up potentially a tiny bit through Curva de Sol.
Yeah, so you see Marco Sanfilippo using the lap cars as a pick to kind of build that gap. That is exactly what you want to see. You saw him also trying to use the slipstream from that lap car as much as he could in the run down to turn 1 as well. So Sanfilippo being smart, trying to use the lap traffic to his advantage. They've already had to work through quite a bit earlier in the race as well. I think as far back as even lap 11, I dare to say. So it's definitely not an uncommon factor at this point in the race, but no doubt, and Eric Andre, he's going to be getting a little bit annoyed sooner or later with all of it.
Yeah, he is. We've got to replay Joshua Wolf. He's going very slowly on track right now. Let's try and figure out what's happened. This will be down at the Senna S, as there is Wolf in the number 48 Torque Freak racing car, and he loses the back end through the center of Curva de Sol, almost hitting the guardrail of champions in 2003. I think it was 2003. It was an absolute monsoon in the race, and of course you got the War of the Champions down at Canada. You also ended up with the guardrail of champions here at Interlagos, which claimed so many big names, including Michael Schumacher as well. And Joshua Wolf in the number 48 car, well, almost our first victim of that one in the day here, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wolf didn't necessarily have a great time at Bathurst, as he was almost collected by Lyndon Swaby, the 13th position car, who has spun out on the exit of the final corner, Joncao. But Wolf, he is having an eventful day for sure.
He is indeed. Kurt Crum, by the way, Sayandra, as they work themselves through turn number 3, as now they'll head themselves again in towards turn 4. The 777 car, Bombshell Motorsports Incorporated, as Travis Henderson. We can't keep up with everything going on track. Travis Henderson has had himself another incident. Let's have a look at this. I think this is down at the Senna S Curva de Sol once again. Let's have a look through turn number 1, and the back end just steps out on him. I'll tell you one thing. There's a RaceSpot TV producer you might know. He's called Hugo Luis. He's had exactly that same incident once.
Well, I think just about everybody that races on this track has had that incident at one point or another. Like those little curves through the 1-3 complex, it is unbelievably complicated. Another car has gone up. We can't just talk about one thing, can we? This time it is Marcus Niskanen, and was that a single car spin? It looks like it was. Again, getting on acceleration. Yeah, and also Joshua Wolf has had issues. I'm not sure if this is a disqualification early on, or whether he's just actually parked the car and said goodbye. Kurt Crum, 777 Bombshell Motorsports Incorporated car, we're on board of him. We're getting close towards 1/3 distance now in this race, Nolan, and as a consequence of that, we're going to see, are they going to 2-stop it or 1-stop it? And
To go back to the RS World Championship Grand Prix Series days are just ahead of him. A car going very, very wide. That is Syandra, who's worked himself back up into the top 10, who went so wide there at Licega de Lago. Lose the position to Kurt Crum. Syandra now down into 9th place, but the question is going to be, when do these drivers pit?
That is going to be the question. We're expecting at least one pit stop this race. No way you're going to be able to make it on the end with your tires. Fuel maybe, but not the tires, that's for sure. But Crum, he is, looks like he's trying to put the power down to catch up to Yao Valverde. And these two guys, they've been together on track before, battling out for position. So this will be very interesting. Syandra, despite his earlier incidents, back up to 8th place now. So he's been making quite the comeback drive.
He has, as he'll come past the start-finish line towards turn number 1. The Center S once again. Riley Thompson, Joseph Ringrose, well, it's the same familiar sight here, Cam. Riley Thompson just can't do anything in the straight line. Of course, that historically, these cars have had 3 different downforce settings: high downforce, medium downforce, low downforce. The majority of teams, majority of drivers always used to use high downforce here, but there were certain elements that you could do around that. This car had a bit of notoriety at points of being difficult to overtake in, but we have seen overtakes through turns 1 into 3, and then also down the back straight away into turn 4 already this race even.
Yeah, and I feel, well, if it was this season, that'd be interesting as well. But I think it's just one of those things. This car ends up producing good races. I think that's probably why this was selected instead of the other one. Perhaps maybe it's they just wanted to throw this one out there because of the major series. You always want the difficult things. Ringrose is right in the middle of the track. Thompson tried to go inside, tried to go outside, just nothing there. It is sort of one of those things. It's interesting because as Ringrose has lost the rears just enough that's going to allow Thompson an opportunity to do the outside. They're going to go side by side going into Curve of the Soul.
Yes, and let's see what happens. And Ringrose will stay ahead again. So Ringrose has got some good straight line speed in that car. Just to keep you up to date with the race lead as well, and Eric Andre has got a 2.3 second deficit now to Marco Sanfilippo, so as they work themselves at the conclusion of lap number 23. So Nolan, the thing here is that Eric Andre didn't seem to gain any advantage with that first spattering of lap traffic that we had.
No, absolutely not. The lap traffic seemed to have played right into Sanfilippo's hands, and Andre going to have his work cut out for him. He's well outside, you know, the slipstream zone. He's well into the dirty air now, so 2-second deficit still. He's going to have to do a little bit of work in here to be able to catch back up and fight for that lead, but Sanfilippo played that lap traffic perfectly into his hands.
Yeah, battle going on just behind. I want to catch this one if we can. It's Syandra with Yao Valverde, and I think Syandra's been able to get this one. Here is the replay. We're going to go on board with Syandra in that number 811 car. And you just see he gets himself a fantastic run out of the corner. And as a consequence of that, Syandra is going to move himself up then into 7th place on track, Nolan.
Yeah, that's it. So Syandra, again, continuing to work his way up there. I do love the little heat wave that was on that onboard camera shot. That was so nice to see. But Syandra, he's continuing to pull. He's actually even pulled a gap now on Valverde, trying to hunt down your 6th place driver, Riley Thompson, who's still battling hard with Joseph Ringrose. So no doubt that could really quickly become a 3-car battle for 5th. 1 car, David H. Baker for Grizzly Motorsports exited the pits after an 8-second stop.
So that is right on cue for a scheduled service here. So David Baker, the first driver to make what looks to be a scheduled service here today. I say that Travis Henderson did do a 9.9 second pit stop a couple of laps ago, so he's also in that window doing a 2-stopper as well. For the 1-stoppers, well, from my many years of experience in commentating on the RS World Championship Grand Prix Series, Nolan, what I can say is that it really is a case of anywhere from now to about lap number 40, and of course these Williams FW31s a part of the era of no refueling, so of refueling actually, I believe. You know, it's been so long now, I can't even remember the answer to your question. But I do believe they do take tyres and fuel here. But 8.5 seconds, David Baker for his pit stop, and for the one-stoppers, they will be on pit road in the next 10-ish laps, maybe.
Oh, okay, I was a little bit concerned when it was an 8.5-second stop to change out 4 tires, because usually that takes, you know, 2 seconds or less. But if they're filling up gas today, it makes perfect sense. Riley Thompson going around big, coming out of the front straightaway. We saw that off from his onboard shot. That was a wild spin.
You know what? Riley Thompson has spun a car whilst I've been on board with him once before, and I think they banned me from ever doing an onboard with him ever again. And I've had to, once again, apologise to Riley Thompson for the curse of the director, if not the commentator there. Riley Thompson, he was battling at the time, I believe, with Josh Ringrose, etc., and just a little bit too heavy coming into Yun Sao there. And as a consequence of that, he also decides to bring it on towards pit road. Diego Jimenez Homela also making a scheduled pit stop. So we're going to cut it back to the live pictures then. Riley Thompson decides to cut his losses, coming towards pit road. 7.8 seconds for him. And Diego Jimenez Homela, 8.6 seconds. And, well, no, what would be the difference there is the fact that, well, Riley Thompson, I would assume he was in a one-stop strategy to have more fuel in the car and just needs to take less because of the fact he switched from a one to a two-stopper, potentially.
So an interesting strategy call, you know, the difference between a one-stopper and a two-stopper, as so many people will probably know already, is, you know, if you have a one-stopper, you spend less time slowing yourself down in the pits, but you can't run as fast the entire race because you have to save a little more fuel. If you run a two-stopper, you get pushed just about flat out through to the end. If the race was short enough, not quite sure. I haven't ever done a race of this length in these cars, so I wouldn't exactly know that to be exact, but it wouldn't surprise me if these guys are going to be pulling some two-stoppers so they can run a lot faster to the end, because we do still have over 40 laps left of this race, so to be stopping on lap 25 for a one-stopper, it seems a little unlikely to me.
Yeah, but of course, it's the tyres as much the fuel that is a big thing in these cars. And I go back to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series when everyone said, oh yeah, we'll do two stoppers, and then no one ever did. There was a time, actually, Max Delorco in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series to be the one driver that would try the ridiculous 3 or 4 stop races when everyone else was doing a 1 or a 2 stop. But of course, the tyre change and models of these cars, these drivers are coming in pretty green. And for those in championship fighting positions right now, not necessarily for the championship itself, but battling for positions inside the top 5 or the top 10 in their own class, they have got to think, do I take it aggressive or do I take it more conservative here today? So we'll go back on board with Eric Andre. He's done his first pit stop of the day, and he is back out on track, but he's only half second now behind Christian Challenger. And for Eric Andre, he is going to want to get past Cam as quickly as possible on this fresh rubber.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think one of the important things that I missed was that Thomas O'Leary has ended up going around San Filippo, I think, through just the nature of the pits. So I think that Thomas hasn't come in yet, and that's why. So yeah,
no, he hasn't.
So that would explain that one, and actually, I don't think San Filippo has come in yet. So, oh no, he just came in. He just came in this lap. Okay, all right. So it is just interesting to see just how much of a gap actually that San Filippo has, because he's actually not that far behind Thomas O'Leary.
Yeah, indeed. As we're on board with Thomas O'Leary, it's 11.3 seconds gap right now. Lane to lane, Nolan, it's about 25 seconds there. Get in, do your tyre change, put some fuel in the car, get back out and away. What's also worth noting is the gap between what should be net first and second place has come down a little bit. It's now about 1.4 seconds, and actually, look at this. This is on Eric Andre being bold as he goes past Christian Chandler there to get himself what is currently third place. It is a net first. The reason why I wanted to talk about that one is because of the fact that the gap was down to 1.2 seconds between Sanfilippo and Alejandro, but it was starting to eke out with the traffic and also Alejandro being stuck behind drivers who hadn't yet pitted.
Yeah, you were just talking earlier about, you know, how Alejandro, he's going to want to get by Challenger as soon as possible. He's no doubt seeing red now as he's going to be trying to charge down Sanfilippo, who we can see just passed one more lap car in David Baker. Oh boy, that was really, really close though, in all honesty, because as we see Thomas O'Leary, your race leader, now down into the pits. He's going to be forfeiting his lead now as O'Leary makes his stop, allowing Filippo back up into the lead. And once again, the fight for first is on.
Yep, Thomas O'Leary, 8.3 out and away, and of course, you got that as a pit stall now, then you don't have to worry about having the pit limiter on when you come out the pit. You can basically light the tyres up and get straight back onto track. Thomas O'Leary in the 601 will come out in a 4th place. That'll be in net 4th. Actually, it's going to be in net 3rd place because Christian Challenger has not yet come on towards pit road. And Christian right now, he is here getting very close to that window of maybe doing a one-stopper. He's got to go, one would argue, another 5 laps in order to make it work. But Christian Challenger here in the Kinetic Europe car, running in 3rd, he is basically one of 4 drivers inside your top 13 who have not yet pitted. So, Challenger, when will he pit? Will it be this lap? Will it be the next lap? The lap after? Will he try to stretch it too far? We've seen that too, where drivers are trying to stretch it a little too far, and they've ended up running out of fuel, sometimes on the pit lane. It's not going to stop this lap, but he's definitely getting closer and closer to that window with every passing lap. Yeah, and one thing, Cam, that you will know about when I do Indy 500 commentary, I always say, you got a strategy, stick to it. And Christian Challenger right now is in that window, the same as Alfa Verde, when they are now beyond optimal mode for doing a 2-stop strategy. They are now in a position where it will be quicker for them to stick on the one-stopper.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, have I wrapped enough aluminum foil around the antenna that I don't sound like I'm contacting you from a very distant place?
Yes, for now. Carry on.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. So, with Christian Challenger, it's actually surprising that not only he's decided to do this, but that he doesn't really seem to have the speed as well. He has won pretty much the last couple of races where he's led pretty much every single lap. So it's surprising to see Challenger back in the 3rd position. He wants to win every single race that he can. I mean, obviously everyone does. But expectation-wise, he's planning on winning every single race. So I'm surprised that he really doesn't seem to have the speed, because wasn't Christian Challenger one of the drivers in the iRacing World? Let's see, what was it? The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the IWGPS.
It was a driver. I cannot remember. I don't think he ever ran the World Championship Grand Prix Series, but he's ran in at least a Pro Series in time. I will say that, and of course he was at one point part of teams who did run the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and a lot of times you go back through the lineage of that series, it wasn't just the likes of Martin Cronkite, Gregor Hutu, Ben Cornette, etc. ad nauseum. You had to think about it. It was all the drivers that would do ridiculous amounts of testing as well. So we've got a battle going on, by the way, for P number 11 and 12, and a spinning car on track as well. That is Thomas Pedersen, who spun just ahead of this battle. There we can see him, and we'll get the replay up for that one here, Nolan, because Thomas Pedersen, he's already a lap down, and he just loops the back end into the center S.
We've seen it before in this race. It's probably not going to be the last time we're going to see it. That battle for 10th place still really heating up. Kirk Crum bobbing and weaving all over the place, trying to find the way through, but again, another car going off in the center S, and that's a 3-car pack right there, trying to go for one spot. Battle for 11th, not 10th, excuse me. Graham Rainier's continuing. He just took that spot away from Kirk Crum this lap, and he's trying to desperately to hang on to it.
Yeah, indeed. So what we're going to do, we're going to give you a little quick RaceSpot TV fan immersion here. We're going to run with the driver who's last in this 3-car pack. This is Liam Quinn. He's on older tyres as well. as he tries to go side by side with Kurt Krum, but let's give you some RaceSpot TV fan immersion. Lap on board then with Liam Quinn as he goes side by side there with Kurt Krum for a moment in the treble 7 car. This is a fantastic little scrap that we got going on right now, and it's not finished yet. Liam Quinn will have the inside line as they head themselves then down towards turn number 4, and he's actually going past Kurt Krum there on older tyres, Nolan.
I think what contributed to that was the fact that Kurt Krum did actually have a big bite of oversteer coming down through the Curva Grande, and that is what allowed Liam Quinn to get that run on him. A little twitch of the steering wheel, had to run a little wide on the exit, lost the momentum he had, but Quinn now up into 12th place. Will Kurt Krum try to fight back? It looks like, though, he's already losing time on those older tires.
He is indeed. Just to give you an update on Christian Chandler, by the way. We were partially mistaken. It was, of course, he's run on the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing for the last 3 years. He has had a couple of bouts in these Formula cars, but not in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, as there is Kurt Krum, now 7.5 tenths of a second behind Liam Quinn as they head towards turn number 1 and 2 once again. Turn our attention though back to Marco Sanfilippo in the number 17 car. The gap between himself and Eric Andre, Cam, 1.5 seconds right now as they continue to work themselves down through the center S's, and we are now past the halfway point of this race.
That we are, and Eric Andre having to go on the outside of Thomas Pedersen, who had just lost a position. They ran almost 3 wide into corner number 1. Marcus Niskanen was the one who had slipped by Pedersen, and then Pedersen ended up slowing down to give Eric Andre some time. Andre doing some wiggly motion that's, I believe, is either angry hand gesturing in a car or not, but Andre is really trying to stay onto the rear of Sanfilippo just as much as he can. His last lap was almost 8 tenths faster that last lap, but I have a feeling that's from Sanfilippo having lap traffic. And that traffic is almost constant now. He's got Adam Faciaponti up ahead in the 84 machine, then he's going to have Danilo Sanfilippo, who is running in the 14th position, but it is an interesting way to do things when you're in a Formula car and you're having to deal with lap traffic.
Yeah, indeed. So Yalva Valde right now runs in 4th place as he's actually got a pretty big gap to the podium, Thomas O'Leary. Let's actually run through your top 8 as they stand right now. It is Marco Sanfilippo who leads by 1.7 seconds over on Eric Andre. That is a big gap. Thomas O'Leary running in 3rd place. Yalva Valde in 4th. Christian Chandler rounds out your top 5. Sai Andra in 6th. Joseph Ringrose in 7th. And Riley Thompson rounds out your top 8. The drivers who are on clearly now one-stop strategy. We've got Yalva Valde and Liam Quinn, because Christian Challenger has just come on towards pit road. Although Challenger, you'd probably expect as well here, Nolan, but in fact he pitted after half race distance. is going to be going to the end on this second set of tyres. And of course, part of the thing of that one is as well, the track's more rubbered in, it's going to be less fuel in the car. That will essentially mean that Challenger will basically have to put less load into these tyres in the second run.
And that's what he wants to see. It means he can kind of push a little harder, make it so, you know, you can kind of make them last a little bit longer, which is why we sometimes see our pit stops happening, you know, earlier in the race. And of course, it is beginning to cool down overhead. A cloud has covered the racetrack. It's been there, so we're kind of going back and forth. But the track temperature is now cooled a little bit to 38 degrees centigrade. And so, as we ride on board with Challenger, he might be able to get the power down, put in some pretty fast laps, and maybe, just maybe, reel in fourth place of Yal Valverde.
Yeah, indeed. So as we're just having a look on Challenger right now, as Valverde is on pit road right now. Actually, no, he's not on pit road. I take that back absolutely completely. On my timing screen there, just deciding to give us a little bit of fun. But I know Andre here, Cam. Let's put up the last 3 laps between the two of them, because I know Andre seems to gain a little bit, but one of the features of these Williams FW31s was the fact that they would overheat their tyres if you try and push them too hard for too long. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had a number of drivers have issues with things such as spinning at certain points in the track, but also managing their pace over a course of a run.
Well, not only that, I've been noticing that a lot of these drivers, right on the inner cloister of this track, as I call it, a lot of times that right front is almost locking up. You can almost just make out the manufacturer logo striped on that outside tire, and so that happens a lot as well. And Interlagos is actually a pretty rough track on tires. I think you're doing a lot of deceleration, a lot of acceleration out of corners, and then there's just the natural corners themselves are pretty significant as far as the angle that you're turning these cars. And so I've been noticing that Sanfilippo, especially right through here, he's going to be going under braking. You should almost be able to just see that he almost locks it up just for a hair of a second. And I think over the course of a run, that might, if you can avoid that, that might end up coming back into your favor if you can control your tires and you can really use that in conjunction with your fuel load.
Yes, we go back on board with Eric Andre in the number 456 car as they work themselves down towards the start-finish line once again. At number 39 of 71 in your books here. Fast lap of the day, by the way, is Marco Sanfilippo, 1 minute 12.391. I say that. There's been only a handful of drivers, only 3 drivers here today, Nolan, who's got themselves lap times into the 1 minute 12s here today. They are Marco Sanfilippo, Eric Andre, and Thomas O'Leary. Everyone else is been doing 1 minute 13s pretty much as their fast lap of the day so far.
Yeah, so, you know, the lap times, they might start to come down as well with the track a little more rubbered in. You know, the temperature, well, it looks like the track's beginning to heat up a little bit more now. It's now up to 39 degrees centigrade, but, you know, we could be seeing, you know, lap time starting to drop. Maybe a couple more drivers getting into the 1 minute 12s. And as you saw, and Eric Andre, he is beginning to continuously close in that gap to Sanfilippo. It was a good 6/10 the last lap, I think you said, Cam. And holy cow, that is a huge margin on any road course, but especially a track like this one where the lap times are just so short.
Yeah, so and Eric Andre is saying 1 minute 13.064 last time by. Actually, Sanfilippo does respond that last time by 1 minute 13.1. Sanfilippo compared to 1 minute 13.2 for Eric Andre, but these two are consistently lapping almost a second a lap faster than anyone else on track as it stands. We have got one small battle going on here, Cam, outside of your top 10. This is Liam Quinn, who, of course, oh, he's had another one. I was going to say he's had a couple of spins here today. He's had another one that was down at the center S, and now Liam Quinn back down into 14th.
Yes, the weight of the RaceSpot TV camera has claimed another one. Yeah, he was back and running in 13th position there. This is just it's a very standard, normal incident. You just throw in a little bit too much speed, you loop the rear, and there was a couple of cars that had to go right on by, and he got pretty lucky. He was able to rejoin rather than having to wait for traffic. Which is lucky because that can really happen a lot. You have to sit there and wait because so many people use the entirety of that racetrack, but he's going to be able to come back out just ahead of Travis Henderson, who is in 15th, so he's only lost really 2 positions.
Yeah, Valverde's finally made his pit stop, lap number 41 or 71 as a spinning car just ahead of him. That is Tracy Ringrose there, who loops it down at turn number 4. And there's a couple of, I would say one thing here, Nolan. That was a pretty scary 30 seconds for Yael Valverde, because he almost ran on top of traffic coming out of pit road. And then, of course, he comes out of the pits, and then Josef Ringrose decides that he's going to spin it just ahead of these guys.
And Ringrose's tires are a little more worn down. He probably saw that Valverde was trying to come out of the pits and tried to push a little bit, pull a gap to make sure he was kind of out of that slipstream of Valverde. Didn't work out for him. He ended up pushing a little too hard and threw the car around. But like you said, you know, he nearly ran over Marcus Niskanen, who is a lap down. And that was a very terrifying heart stopper, no doubt, for Valverde when he saw Niskanen slowing up right in front of him to try to let Ringrose through.
A little bit further back, and you got Travis Henderson, Liam Quinn battling at it for 14th place on track. Kinetic America's junior car for Liam Quinn and Travis Henderson in P number 15. And, well, Liam Quinn, of course, this goes back, Nolan, to what we were talking about, the heat cycles that go into the tyres. And we say that Quinn looks a little bit squirrely through turn number 11 on track, and I am keeping my eye out to see if anyone else is spinning right now. But the heat cycles of these cars, it does take a couple of laps to cool the tyres down after you've over-pushed them, after you've overused them. This will give Travis Henderson the opportunity now to try and make up a spot over Liam Quinn, but these are 2 drivers who have both recently been in the wars.
So Henderson trying to close in. We have one car that spins off right ahead of them, and that was Kusiak in the number 20 machine. And just like we saw so many times, got on the curbs of turn 1 and looped it around all on his own, kept it out of the barrier, kept it out of traffic, just barely, but he did. On board with him now. There you have it, just lost it on the power. You saw he locked it up at first and actually released the brakes to roll a little bit further forward, get off of the racing line. So good job on Kusiak to make sure he was not in harm's way. We're getting the car around. Didn't actually go for a full spin there. Yeah,
technical phrases there. 2-foot magic save hacks, I think people will remember it by. Syandra is able to get himself past Christian Challoner there. So Syandra on older tyres able to get past Christian Challoner as well. But we do maybe expect to see some of your top 4 drivers on pit road in the next 7 to 8 laps maximum, Cam.
Yes, you said the magic words also, as somebody else has also parked their car on the one of the exits. That's actually an interesting one. I don't think we've seen somebody spin out there, as Liam Quinn has lost the rears just a little bit too much speed. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what is going on. Perhaps with the tires, has there been a temperature change? It's still 78 degrees out in the air. It's 101 degrees Fahrenheit out on the track. I'm wondering, because in the last 4 to 5 laps, maybe it's because the sun's come back out, I'm not sure. But in the last 3 to 4 laps, we've had quite a couple of cars that have gone for spins that have been pretty consistent throughout the race. So pretty interesting to see how that's going.
Yeah, the track temperature is down to 101 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 38 degrees Celsius. Still cloudy, humidity is about the same, the wind speeds are about the same, but we have started to see some more shadows come out onto the track, Nolan. That does mean the sun has come out a little bit. This track, you know, it does heat up quickly, but I would still say the thing that's the most difficult for these cars is the fact that because it's such a short lap and you've got a very difficult infield section, there's another car that shows the Ringrose has just looped it around and it's got no front or rear wing on that car. That's going to be an absolute pain to get back on towards pit road. But here's a replay from Ringrose, and he just loops it, and Ben Cornett mediocre at best. He did that once in an iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series race. Ringrose has done it now in the number 830 car, as we've got himself a look there at Joseph Ringrose. But actually, you know, even San Filippo, he's almost had himself some incidents here in this event, and we're just going to go on board for a couple of moments on the tape here with Marcus San Filippo, because your race leader's now starting to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, and the Danilo Sanfilippo, sorry, not Marco Sanfilippo, Danilo Sanfilippo, he nearly lost the back end in turn number 3 right after Joseph Ringrose had spun out. He went hard into the wall, and Sanfilippo saw that and tried to take evasive action, had to jerk the wheel hard to the right, then hard to the left, and nearly had his own moment, nearly ended up exactly like him. But Sanfilippo, Marco, he is beginning to, you know, slowly lose time. It's down to less than a second now. If we were in the McLarens, they would be within DRS range, but we are, of course, not in the McLaren MP430s. We are in the Williams. And so, and Eric Andre still has the potential to reel him in. This could get interesting.
It could do, as the last couple of laps, it has been even, almost Stevens then, between Marco Sanfilippo and Eric Andre in the number 456 cars. They head themselves now down towards Yun Sao once again, like number 46 of 71 we scored complete this time by. Just to let you know, of course, live timing and scoring has been up all race. It's still available. Just visit RaceSpot.tv/timing for that one. As Eric Andre down to under 9/10 of a second now as they come past the start finish line, braking hard into the center S. And well, last time around, Cam, Eric Andre gained a little bit through pit stops. He now needs to try and consider doing an undercut if he wants a race lead.
Yeah, I would suggest doing it. Honestly, he has been able to close in lap after lap. He keeps dancing between 0.8 of a second to 1 second between him and the leader, Marco Sanfilippo. They've managed to get by quite a couple of lap cars without incident, and that's going to continue, as actually we have clipped into the top 10 now. And you weren't here for this, Will, but we ended up doing the Lotus 49 at Milwaukee 2 rounds ago, and it was actually Christian Chandler who lapped the entire field over the course of that race. So I'm not sure. With enough time, I don't think that's obviously going to be happening, but I think we might be seeing only maybe 5-6 cars on the lead lap by the time this thing gets done, as Kurt Crum has himself gone around a lapped car, and Sanfilippo is going to be arriving on the scene of that one, and he's going to have to navigate just more lap traffic, which is not necessarily something you get used to in these cars, Will.
Indeed, so we're just riding on board with Bram Arenas right now, currently in 8th place. Diego Jimenez Romela just ahead of that. One of the things that is worth noting, of course, Cam, is the fact that we have still got 2 championship standings to finalise, 3 championship standings technically to finalise here today. Of course, we've got the Pro, we've got ourselves, the other 2 in here as well. So for some of these drivers of the medium level attrition rate that we've got, will potentially give some people a nice little points haul to finish off the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kurt Crum is the 2nd place runner right now in the point standings, but in the European Pro split. But I will say Matthias Magnussen, I do not see him on the list, so I'm presuming he's probably going to be ended up running in one of the other major series splits. Of course, there is always 4 of them to do, as it's just interesting. It's been interesting, this championship. Pretty much, if you subtract Christian Chandler, because he's got almost 1,500 points between him and Kurt Crum in 2nd.
Yeah, indeed. So as we have got Joseph Ringrose here, who's out earlier on in this event. Well, Joseph, we saw your last incident then, both front and rear wings taken off your car. Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, a couple of laps before, I did the same thing. Dropped it at turn 4. First time around, I got away with it. It wasn't so bad, but 3 laps later, just did the same thing, and unfortunately put it into the wall.
Well, talk about your major season. It's come down with a finish a little bit less than what you would have wanted it to. But talk us through how your 2019 major season has gone in very short form, and also how do you feel about the season and your overall championship standing as a consequence of it?
This is my first race so far this season, because I prefer the higher downforce sort of single seaters, but definitely looking forward to next season, hopefully participating in more events. I think it was a solid race up till then. Held Riley off for a while, managed to avoid the incidents into turn 1 and just kind of kept a clean car. You know, it went a lot better than testing was going, so you know, it was pleasing to see, but it's not always a nice end feeling to end up in a wall.
Well, thanks for talking to us, Jason. Very quickly before we let you go, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Track Racer, all the guys at Satellite, and Eric and Sire for putting in the work on the setup, Debbie as well, and yeah, just the rest of the supporters and sponsors for Satellite Racing, and you guys, of course.
Thank you very much, Joseph Ringrose. Out of the event, unfortunately, a little bit too early for him. We are getting ready for a second round of pit stop. Syandra, he did come on towards pit road before anyone else. And as a consequence of that, Nolan, this is going to be the thing. Can he do the undercut?
That will be the big question for Syandra. He's down in the 4th place. And at the moment, just waiting for my own timing screen to update here, it looks like he is going to be about a good 40 seconds and a good 25 seconds behind Thomas O'Leary. So maybe he could reel that gap in a little more. And when O'Leary comes down in the pit lane once more, he could take back that final podium spot. So it'll be interesting to see what Syandra can do here. He has, of course, got fresher tires, so he's definitely going to have the pace to catch him.
Yeah, Kurt Crum just finishing his second pit stop in the 777. Bombshell Motorsports Incorporated car out and away in 7.7 seconds. We do expect the second and final round of pit stops to be a little bit faster than the first ones here today, as they work themselves back out onto the pit stop, and Andre's back on pit road again there, Cam. Don't tell me it's a speeding penalty.
I see. I had thought that, no, he's coming in, he's getting tired. Well, of course, you might as well get tires, I suppose, but I didn't think that he had come in before. I thought that we were waiting for him to come in, so yeah, no, that's going to drop him well back. Christian Chandelier is going to get by. I don't know if Gel Valverde, who is running in the 6th position, is going to get by, but yeah, it must have been something along those lines.
Let me have a look.
But no, it only had an 8-second pit stop, so no penalty or anything like that. So I think this was just him coming down pit lane.
Yeah, so I just want to have a look, because it was showing him as entered a couple of moments ago, unless he, yeah, so it was just the fact that, again, our timing glitched out a little bit, which always you have to, you live and hope and die in the roles of the timing screen. It showed Syandra is now having 3 pit stops here today. He's certainly not had 3 pit stops here today. He's only had 2, as he now just works himself back through, and he's 14 seconds behind Christian Chandler right now on Eric Andre. He's dropped back though, Nolan. He's now 1.7 behind San Filippo in the battle for the race lead.
If Eric Andre is going to try to go for that undercut, he's going to have to do it now, because he is gradually losing time to San Filippo. The only way he'll be able to gain that back is if he's on newer tires to San Filippo, because that car, that 17 machine, it's just had the pace to stay out in front this entire race. So Andre, if he is going to be making that undercut, well, he's got to find a way to do that soon, or he might find himself in trouble for his fight for the lead. He drops another 10th this lap.
Diego Jimenez Pomela on pit road for the final time here, Cam. He is out and away in 7.2 seconds.
Yeah, and 7.2 seconds is actually about 0.8 to a second faster than what we've normally been seeing. So I think we're starting to get to that window where you really have to be good on your calculations, because what you don't want to do is overfuel the car. You don't want to be sitting there for half a second to a second, because that could be 3, 4, 5 laps of really hard pushing time that you have to claw back, as he's now come out right in front of Bram Reniers, who is in 9th place, which means that Diego Jimenez Armelia will be in 8th place.
Indeed, so as there is Brant Reyners. Gap is half a second between the two of them as they work themselves now down in the infield section of this racetrack with a very, very long left-hander down at Pinheiro. Now down towards Bico de Pato on track as they'll now come through the sweeping left-hander at Magillo and now into Yunsao once again. Top two drivers on pit road, Nolan. Talk us through it.
So this could be crucial here. Which driver can get that better pit stop? It will be Sanfilippo first to do his pit stop. He's going to bring it to a stop. Andre right behind him. Who's going to be out first? Who's going to be off the jacks first? It's Sanfilippo who is going to get off the jacks first. He's going to maintain that lead for the most part, I do believe. Andre out right behind him. Two drivers now on fresh tires. This might get interesting here. They're going to be coming out right behind your battle for 8th place.
Yep, Sanfilippo then. Out of the way, 7.4 seconds, and Eric Andre was a little bit quicker, 7.2. But importantly here, Cam, Eric Andre lost half a second on pit road coming in.
Yeah, and that is so easy to do. We saw that happen a lot at Bathurst, but it's really, you're playing chicken with the pit stop sign. You really have to get it down to the correct speed. You don't want to get a speeding penalty, maybe a little too conservative or something to that matter, but you'd hate to have a great battle split up. But yeah, it was 2.2 seconds at the line, and of course they were coming into pit lane at that time, so there was really a big gap then coming into pit lane, which is surprising to see, I guess.
Yeah, indeed so. So there is a look, and actually Diego Jimenez Homela is 1.4 seconds back now for Brian Remers, as Danilo Sanfilippo is on pit road making his final pit stop of the day. Out of the way, 7.5 seconds, he comes back out onto track. Thomas O'Leary doing his pit stop, of course. He's the one that's got the first pit stop of everyone. Out of the way, 6.9 second pit stop for him. So we'll run through your top 8 in a moment, but Marco Sanfilippo does now have a commanding lead of 2 seconds almost over on Eric Andre as they work themselves now down to the final part of this race. 17 laps to go in this final round of the European portion of the major series of 2019. There is actually, it's got close again between Diego Jimenez Homela and Brian Reyners. It was up to 1 second. It came all the way back down to 0.3 of a second, and even less than that for a moment there, Nolan.
Yeah, it really did, and they nearly wiped each other out as well. Reyners is going to have a huge drive coming off of that corner onto the front straightaway. The problem is he's probably going to have to yield here to Eric Andre. No doubt blue flags are waving right now. Andre going to go through. That'll split your battle for 8th place up, and you see Eric Andre doing a little bit of a weaving as well onto the front straightaway, so it doesn't look like he is terribly happy with all of this, but it is looking grimmer and grimmer for Andre's hopes of getting his win here in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Steps out around Hormilia.
Yeah, indeed. So this is the closest battle we've got going on in the last 16 laps of this campaign for the European side of things, of course. But we also want to say thank you to the guys who've been doing the international and the North American side of things as well as part of the major series for 2019. Bram Reyners in the number 8 Talk Freak racing car, then still behind Diego Jimenez Homela. Let's give you a little bit more RaceSpot TV fan immersion coming up now. We saw it live on RaceSpot TV fan emerge. Nolan pass complete. And Jimenez Homela now down into 8th place. Reina's up into 7th.
You saw that move from Reina's, from Bram Reina's down into turn number 4 to get around Homela, and that is what allowed him to get up into P number 7. And of course, Diego going to be looking to charge back on the front straightaway, slowly running out of time. We're coming up to 13 laps to go when the leaders next cross the stripe. They're just coming out of the front straightaway now. And the gap has slowly been the gap between the lead has been slowly getting wider and wider apart. Will this protect us? We've been talking about that for a little bit. It looks like Andreas Robertson might have had an issue somewhere.
He's not had an issue, he's just lost a place, which you might call an issue depending on what your interpretation of a racing move is. Well, there we are. Robertson losing 16th place there to Udelis Putkulis, who, of course, had that incident very early on in this race, Cam, and ever since he's been on a recovery drive in the 666, Andreas Robertson down into 17th place.
Yeah, and Putiklis hasn't necessarily been having the grandest of times. I will say, as I squint my eyes up to the front of the track, I was getting ready to say, well, there's nothing really to say between Sanfilippo and Andre. And as far as that, I thought the lap times would stabilize, everything would be all hunky-dory, as I was waiting to see where that happened, but no. So if you look at the lap times here, it's just a little bit of plus, a little bit of plus, a little bit of plus. And what ends up happening is that now it's gone from 2.1 to 1.8. They're just about to pass the start-finish line once again, and unless Sanfilippo has put down a cracking lap, I have a feeling that Andre might just be continuing to reel him in here, a 113.1 compared to a 112.7.
Yep, and let's see, have we got the lap times? Can we show the lap times? Yes, we can. Well, actually, that's from P2 to P3. We don't want to care about that one at all. It's P1 to P2. And last time by another 3.5 tenths of a second, then closed by Noah Andre over Mark Sanfilippo. Do you think maybe, Nolan, that it was Noah Andre just willing Marcus Sanfilippo into a false sense of security? And of course, we know Noah Andre, he knows how to manage tyres. We've seen him so many times on RaceSpot TV, in things like the Formula Renault, and things like the Formula 3 car, managing tyres and getting good results.
I'm not sure. This is definitely getting a bit more interesting. The gap's closing down to just over 1 second now, so he's looking to close in another 3.5 tenths or more this lap. So, and Eric Andre, he did lose out on that half a second on the pit entry, but he could slowly reel that gap in. We could still have ourselves a fight for the lead coming up yet if he can continue to keep up that pace. But I'm going to tell you what, the second he ends up accidentally smoking those tires, that's where it's over for him. Oh, and we've just had an incident up front, and your leader, Marco Sanfilippo, has just lost the car. He ran wide of turn 4, and he goes clean off. What in the world?
Too much pressure, I think. That's exactly what had happened. I think it was finally one of those situations where he clipped the curb, and yep, off and when he went. He actually had it, but he should have just aborted that turn, and instead he tried to go across the grass, and when you try to do that, you're just going to skip right across with these rears. The rear is just so low that any bump or anything like that is just going to bottom the car out. You see everything's fine. He tried to go across the grass and he just threw the car in a long, long slide. And he actually really should have just let the thing spin around. And that means that Eric Andre is going to be your leader after a self-made mistake from Marco Sanfilippo after leading so many laps.
Under pressure, Sanfilippo then just catches the grass, a little piece of grass on the outside. And you see, Eric Andre had to take evasive action of his own in order to avoid hitting him. So Eric Andre now leads this race. Marco Sanfilippo all now down into P number 2. and he's 7/10 of a second back, and wow. So one thing, of course, Nolan, in these situations, if you've got a driver who knows how to manage things, that's always one. But also, sometimes it's just about playing mind games, your competition. As Danilo Sanfilippo was just involved in a battle with Diego Jimenez Homela. That's been going on for P number 8 on track.
So the other Sanfilippo, Daniela A. Sanfilippo, is still trying to battle it out with Jimenez Hormila, as we're going to see Sanfilippo diving in under turn 4, just completely dive bomb poor old Hormila. And you saw a little bit of a twitch, I think, from that 941 machine as well. On the exit of turn number 4, going to be riding on board with Hormila now as we go through turn 4. Did he get over? He did get a bite of oversteer. Managed to correct that. 3 abreast the front straightaway, though, as the other Sanfilippo, Marco Sanfilippo, your former race leader, tries to work his way through lap traffic.
Yeah, indeed so. There is Homela, then down to P number 9. There's your top 8 along the bottom of your screen. It's on Eric Andre now, your new race leader, by 7.5 seconds over Marco Sanfilippo, after Sanfilippo had a spin just a couple of laps ago down at this corner right here. Thomas O'Leary in 3rd place. He's been there for quite a while in this race. The one stopper didn't work out for Christian Challoner. He remains in P4 and is fading. So Andra is in P number 5, Yalva Verde in 6th, Fran Marinas in 7th, Danielo Sanfilippo in 8th, Diego Jimenez Homela, who we're riding on board with right now, in 9th, and Kurt Crum rounds out your top 10. So 9 laps to go in this race, and well, oh, we got another spin. That's the other Sanfilippo spinning it there. That is Danielo Sanfilippo just looping it down at Young Salcam.
Yeah, and it is just so easy to do. I'm wondering what is... Oh, he tried to go to the inside. I think Hormila maybe had gotten an attack onto him on the outside at some point, and I think Sanfilippo just buried the car just a little too hard into it. Either it was lap traffic or not. But he ended up coming right on through there. Yep, that was lap traffic indeed. It was Markus Niskanen who was under braking, and you know what? I think Sanfilippo came in there with a full head of steam. You can't dive into the inside of Niskanen like that. And I think that Niskanen saw that and he ended up pulling wide just to give him space. But, yeah, Sanfilippo just ending up really throwing that car in there, and that's, you kind of have to pay the toll, as it were, though it did work. He ended up clipping the grass on the outside and spinning the car out, and I will say that gap between Eric Andre and Marco Sanfilippo, well, now it is growing steadily, almost by 5/10. I think that last lap was almost by a full second, so Eric Andre is absolutely still pounding the laps out.
Yeah, let's do a lap on board of him, shall we, quickly. Your new race leader, Eric Andre, RaceSpot TV fan immersion. Six to go here at Interlagos, the Autodromo Jose. Oh my word, I don't even know who I am. The Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace even here for the final round of the Major Series European Edition on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. As there's no real battles going on. Closest one maybe to keep an eye out on is Daniele Sanfilippo trying to catch back up to Kurt Krum in 9th and try and reverse some of that damage he did with that spin down at Yun Sao, Nolan.
Yeah, so Sanfilippo, this is getting confusing now. Daniele Sanfilippo going to breeze by Marcus Niskanen this time without sending it into the grass and spinning himself out. Kurt Krum still running up ahead. You see on the deltas, Sanfilippo has been closing in by about 1/4 of a second a lap here. I'm not sure if that'll be enough to catch and overtake Kurt Krum, because Kurt Krum himself is trying to run down Diego Jimenez Hormilia, who is not trying to run Thomas O'Leary, because that is a car a lap ahead of him. So could have a 3-way battle forming up here, but at this point it would look like it would be Kurt Krum versus Daniele Sanfilippo. And there is your delta to Krum closing in on Hormilia, and actually he's closing in by over a second on lap 62, just 2/10 in 63, but another second at the end of lap 64. Will.
Anyone can talk. It's that stage of the race. Here's Daniele Sanfilippo once again. He's within a second of Kurt Krum. So basically, P8's been hounded by P9, Cam. He's been hounded in turn by P10.
Yeah, and this is there is plenty of time enough to allow this to close up enough to where we could see some last lap fireworks. But I was just kind of thinking here as I'm watching the 8th, 9th, and 10th. The very first RaceSpot TV broadcast that I had ever done, Will, was actually right here in this very car at the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
2014.
That was that 2014? I was going to say 2015, but yeah, 2014, huh?
Well, if you turned up on time, we're going to talk about that in the pre-race. But, you know.
Something like that, you know, hey.
But yeah, Hugo was saying that to me yesterday. So there is, you know, we have a statistics department. It's normally just Jonathan Simone, but we occasionally do try and pull out some graphics and some pieces of useful information. Kurt Krum being caught still there. The gap between Kurt Krum and Daniele Sanfilippo down below 1 second. And as Nolan pointed out earlier, if this was in the McLaren and before 20, you know, we would have been in a situation where DRS would have kicked in right now, but we're not. We're in the Williams, and that means you've got to do it all with your right and your left feet. Sanfilippo, though, really is catching up, but at the same time, Cam, if you've had a spin already and you've made a mistake, how hard do you want to push and how aggressive do you want to push, knowing that there's still a lot of lap traffic in play?
Well, you have to have that band of performance. If you try to take it too easy, you're going to spin out, and if you try to take it too hard, you're going to spin out. This car does not like to be driven softly. Is that a term? That's the engineering term. The car doesn't like to be driven softly, so you have to be you have to be on it. And I think for Sanfilippo, he is on it. Marco Sanfilippo and Daniele. He's hitting the marks at 113 flat for 2 laps in a row, but there's no time. There's only 3 laps to go, and for Danilo Sanfilippo, he's really, as somebody is off, that's Bram Reniers, who's in 7th position. Well, not any longer. He's going to be dropped back into the 10th position, so both of these cars getting moved on up here as Bram, we'll see here on the replay. I have a feeling, Will, he has just lost the rears in about the apex of corner 1.
Yep, down at the center rest. The back actually steps out before he even really attacks the corner, hits the Armco barrier down at the first part of the center rest. It is really hard to spin these cars around and get them back pointing in the right direction, so Bram Reniers now down into P number 10. As a consequence of that one. It's worth noting here, Nolan, that Kurt Krum is actually stopped gaining time over Diego Jimenez Hormilia, and now he's just got Sanfilippo closing up behind him dramatically.
I think Kurt Krum is kind of trying to back off on offense a little bit. He's trying to focus more on defense right now. He's just got to be very careful that he himself doesn't lose the back end of the car. 2 laps to go, but with the gap that's between them, which guarantee you right now is about half a second, there's definitely more than enough time for Filippo to try to make a move. Tries to look to the inside of turn 1. Krum took it a little bit wide, missed the apex of that first turn. We could see a move here with 2 to go. Krum goes on the defense.
as they're going to be side by side almost as they head themselves down in towards turn number 4, and it looks as though, yes, it will be San Filippo getting himself ahead there of Diego Jimenez Hormela, but it's not over yet as they head themselves now down towards Ferradura, and this is where the outside line can still work, and they're able to get themselves back into single file for the moment with a lap and a half left to go in this motor race. Let's see if we can get ourselves a quick replay of this one. This is what happened down in towards turn 4. Look how close to the grass San Filippo was there as he managed to make the move over Kurt Krum. We are though on to the final lap of this motor race, and Eric Andre, well, he kind of got gifted it, but part of it was down through to his hard charging after that final round of pit stops. See, force an issue there for Marco Sanfilippo, who had led almost every lap of this race to that point. And Eric Andre using his experience in open wheels here on iRacing to try and force an issue. He got one. Didn't have to try and do it on the racetrack by passing. He forced Marco Sanfilippo to make an issue down at turn number 4. He spun his car around, and since then on Eric Andre has had an unstoppable lead. We'll come back to Daniele Sanfilippo and Kurt Krum in a moment's time because they've just changed positions again. Kurt Krum has worked himself up into P number 8. Daniele Sanfilippo back down into P number 9. And also Bram Reeners had himself another incident as well. We'll come to those in just one moment's time. But first, on Eric Andre, your winner here in the Brazilian Grand Prix, a part of the major series in your European splits. And well, there's still more to talk about. Let's start off by having a look at Kurt Krum and Daniele Sanfilippo. This is down into turn number 1 and 2. They were side by side through there. They stayed side by side for part of the back straightaway. We're going to see that here as Kurt Krum's going to repay the favour. He's going to go to the outside in towards turn number 4 and is able to then do the over-under. What a move actually there by Kurt Krum over Sanfilippo, but they will then change positions one more time on this final lap. There's Bram Reeners, by the way, having himself another incident. Let's get ourselves a replay of this one. This is down again into the center S. Loops it on corner entry, spins it around just like last time, but this time he just releases the brake pedal, allows the car to get itself into a point that's easier to spin around. We go back though to Sanfilippo and Kurt Krum, and there we can see the two make contact. Oh my word, they make contact. They both come back out onto track, but it gets very testy between the two of them in the last couple of corners. They're going for broke, and you can see a big lunge down the inside there for Sanfilippo. He's able to get back on track, and wow, Nolan, that one all just disintegrated very quickly.
I was holding my breath throughout that entire battle because I could tell the way they were moving around. I was like, there's no way this is going to end well. And sure enough, it ended in disaster. Sanfilippo won out in that battle, getting a little argy-bargy through those tighter corners, and managed, quite literally punted Kurt Krum off the track and took home 8th place here in the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Krum had to settle for 9th.
Let's have a look then for your final race results here from Interlagos. Eric Andre claims victory in the number 456 car, winning by 11.4 seconds over Marco Sanfilippo after Marco had some issues with about a quarter of the race to go, handing over the race lead and then the victory to an Eric Andre. Thomas O'Leary, 3rd place, a quiet day by him, but he wraps out your podium. Champion in the European side of things, Christian Challoner comes home in 4th place. Ty Andret in 5th, Yao Valverde in 6th, Diego Jimenez Hormela in 7th, Daniele Sanfilippo in 8th, Kurt Krum 9th, and Lyndon Zwabi rounds out your top 10. Lots of action at the rear part of your top 10 in the last 10 laps. Bram Reynolds, after his second spin in 5 laps, loses a spot in the top 10 in the Talk Freak Racing car. Gabriel Roos in 12th, Travis Henderson 13th, Colin Marsoff in 14th, Adam Facaponti in 15th, Gordis Putkus in 16th place, Marcus Niskanen 17th, Andreas Robertson 18th, David Baker 19th, and Thomas Pedersen rounds out your top 20. As remainder of your results then up on your screen, Massey Krushek will be classified in 21st place, and then Joseph Ringrose 22nd. First driver officially retired. Liam Quinn, Riley Thompson, Daniel Johnson, and Joshua Wolf are the remainder of those drivers. As we just see them, look at your winner doing the donuts. That is an Eric Andre in the number 456 car. Great day here in the major series, the European split on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. But don't forget, that is not it for the major series. There is still more to come. A little bit later on today, on the iRacing Esports Network, you can catch the Americas region. That will be broadcast by the Global Sim Racing channel. That will be your nightcap for the major series, and that will be in just a few hours' time. But what a race we had here, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say Interlagos always puts on a good race, and I think that the people did an absolutely fantastic job in this car at this track. That's the Major Series kind of in a nutshell. The last month, really only like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were at Bathurst, and before that we were in the Lotus 49, and before that we were in your Class A stock car, and it is just... it's exciting, it's interesting, you never know what you're going to get, but I think one thing that you can always count on is that the Major Series puts on a good show, and I'd like to think that we had a great show here at Interlagos, an exciting show for sure.
Yeah, indeed so. And, well, in terms of, you know, we had some ups, we had some downs, we had some crazy things all going on at once at certain points of the event, but overall, it was great fun to watch.
Yeah, that was absolutely incredible fun to watch. I don't think I've ever seen, a race like that where it was just non-stop action all throughout right to the end. There was hardly even a lull, even in the final laps or so. When we thought things were calming down, we still had, gaps closing in. Battles beginning to shape up. It was just an absolute thrill for, no doubt, everybody involved, and certainly for me as well.
Yeah, indeed. So we are going to get some interviews in just one moment's time, ladies and gentlemen, here on RaceSpot TV, and as ever, as we say, on the iRacing Esports Network. There is, of course, more action also going on here today, which we'll talk about in just a brief moment as well, because we've got ourselves the 500 for the Classic IndyCar Series, which is always a fun event to be a part of, and I was supposed to be commentating over on that one for a little bit, but circumstances change, unfortunately, and well, we do what we have to do here on RaceSpot TV, but there's still a long way to go in that race. We're going to have a quick look in with Randy Cheneth and Jack Stiles, who are on the call for that one in just one moment's time as well. And I think, actually, we might be able to do that right now. So let's have a quick listen in to Randy Cheneth as well as Jack Stiles.
There's some difficult things. I think this one is definitely the friendliest in dirty air. We did the DW12 kind of a middle ground, and the IR18, at least in my experience, I never found it that great in the dirty air, but maybe some, now that
So that's a little look in as to the Classic IndyCar Series round number 14, the Indy 500, live on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. We, though, have got a couple of interviews to go through, and we start off with your race winner, Eric Andre. Well, it looked as though for 3/4 of that race, you're almost going to have to settle for second place, but you get the victory here today. Talk us through your race.
Well, first of all, I was quite disappointed with my qualification, like only P6 on the grid. It was quite of a disappointment. Then I managed to take a good start, but I knew that Marco was really fast. I think that he had the edge on me. He just made a bit more of mistakes, and well, on the last stint, I was just pushing really hard, and he made a mistake, and I was able then to take the win.
Well, that mistake, I mean, we saw after he came out of pit stops, that final pit stop, you lost half a second to Marco Sanfilippo. How hard were you pushing on that final run to the checkered flag, and were you trying to force a mistake?
Well, I think I really didn't care if I was crashing into the wall. Yeah, I just knew that he had the fastest car, and I had to make something if I want to win. So it was either P1 or into the wall.
Well, you wrap up the major series European side of things with a race victory in this Williams Toyota FW31. I always forget the fact that this car was powered by a Toyota. But in terms of, you know, driving this Williams car, I mean, I know that we've seen you in so many open wheel cars over the years on iRacing. How was it to get back into a Formula car like this Williams FW31?
It was quite hard because like I really didn't drive on iRacing since the last year. It was hard to get some motivation after the end of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And in fact, this car was quite a challenge. It was quite different to the MP430. And I like it. I think it's a really good car, and it's quite fun, you know, no DRS, no ERS. You just need to focus on your driving. And at the end, I think that you have exciting race.
Well, and Eric, before we let you go, shout out sponsors, who gets it done for you and your team.
Well, I will thank Sayandra and the Spring Growers for the setup work, the whole satellite racing crew, and our sponsor, Track Racer, obviously.
Well, thank you very much. That's on Eric Andre there, coming home with the race victory here today. Sayandra comes home in P number 5. And Sai, well, it seemed to me that you had some good pace here today, but the race just didn't pan out the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, I think I'm cursed at Interlagos in single-seaters. Same thing happened in the Formula 3.5 race. Early damage, and then had to run a recovery race. I'll say I'm a little bit more successful in this car, though. Unofficial farthest mover, I think, from last to 5th after the first lap. Could have had 4th, too.
Talk us through lap number 1.
Well, I felt like I had a decent start. I saw my teammate and Eric go flying up the inside, so I made sure to give him room. We were 3 wide into turn 1 at one point, I think. And then I felt like I had my nose chopped at the apex of turn 2. Going back and looking at it, it may have been a racing deal. But yeah, I think that screwed both of our races, and a little bit of consideration from both drivers would have been better. Disappointing because I knew I had pace for the win, and I knew I had pace to challenge Marco, Thomas, and an Eric. But I guess it just didn't turn out that way. 5th isn't too bad considering it's where I started.
Well, thank you very much, Si. Before we let you go, shout out sponsors, who gets it done for you and your team.
Well, Satellite Racing, thank you so much for James for the livery, which I'm not sure that showed up, unfortunately. Track Racer for powering us. And that's about it. And Ellis Engineering, of course.
Well, thank you very much then, Sayandra from Satellite Racing. That is all we've got time for here today in the final round of the Major Series. It's been a fantastic season, and of course, as we said a moment ago, it's not over just yet. The European side of things, we're going to have ourselves our champions, of course, in each of the 3 classes. But there's still one more race to go. That'll be on the Global Sim Racing channel just a little bit later on here this evening. Thank you to Isman Balad, TrackCams22.com, our friends over at And One Design, as well as ATVO, Noda Rempo, Cameron Walsh, myself, Will Vincent. All we've got time to do is say thank you, as ever, to the guys over at the Major Series. What a fantastic season once again. And that's it. We're done. So long and good night from Sao Paulo and the Brazilian Grand Prix, a part of the Major Series.